Please help me in welcoming David Brooks.
David Brooks, the thinking man's conservative. That's what people peg him as, and he spoke at Davidson College yesterday night, and I got the pleasure of watching it on the live feed at Davidson until it froze, and then I had to watch it today at about 3 o'clock on YouTube instead. But I did manage to get through the speech, did manage to get through the questions. He did his speech on Trump and afterwards the new American culture, the next American culture. And interesting title. A lot of people, I'm sure, came to hear him rail about Trump or defend Trump or something about Trump, and he didn't really talk about Trump. But what did he talk about? This is my review of David Brooks.
Sometimes we in the university business think, oh, the kids are just brains on sticks. But Augustine, someone Carol and I both admire, has he thought we were fundamentally desiring. Our hearts were more important than our brains.
So, what did I think about David Brooks? I liked him. I give overall his he has this great voice. He's just like, oh my gosh, like you listen to his voice and it's just like, hi, I'm just David Brooks, and like I'm real wise and I know a lot of things, and I know you're gonna listen to me because of just this voice, but it's a really, really deep voice, and it's just like wow, like it's like he's talking in this low sonorous voice that, oh man, it's just crisp. So okay, the vocals, 10 out of 10. Vocals, I'll give him good props for vocals. In terms of the content, right? He talks about this idea of culture. And a lot of the topics that he addressed are topics that, a lot of more traditional conservatives would talk about most of their life. And particularly, he talks about what's going on in today's culture. What's going on in today's culture, he asserts, really is this idea of we're living in this fragmented age. We're living in an age of individualism. But individualism gone awry, right? Because we used to have a national character in the 1940s and 50s under FDR and New Deal and American liberalism kind of coalescing. And now we live in this fragmented place where everyone just talks petty partisan politics, and he's right about that. The diagnosis is absolutely spot on. He talks about these three crises: the crisis of freedom, the crisis of meaning, and the crisis of trust. And we have crises in all of that. We don't trust our government, right? We don't trust our government. We have too much freedom and too little to do with it, right? Because no one has given us any idea. This quote I really liked. He said, "We are the most sheltered, we, us, millennials, me, you and I, unless you're not a millennial, but me, I am in the most sheltered generation of all time, going through the most sheltered educational process of all time, and then being thrust out into the most crazy world of all time, most unsheltered world of all time." That's what he's saying. With nothing. No grounding, nothing to put my life into, nothing to give me that sense of purpose. In fact, everything that I've been told really is create your purpose, create your own purpose, right? From the beginning, when I was like 8, 9 years old, and my teacher said, just be yourself. Well, what the heck? Like I don't know who I am. I'm a freaking 8-year-old. I'm still twirling on my thumbs. Still thinking about the cute girl over in 4th grade who said hi to me once. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking deep questions about my existential angst, or like, I'm not like, pondering my existence. I don't know anything about myself. So what does it mean to be myself? That's what he says. Like, the teachers, the education these days tells us to be authentic when we don't even know what authenticity is, because we don't know who ourselves are. Diagnosis 100% spot on.
And so finding a new narrative seems to me that reconciles all the wrongs. Seems to me that's job one. And I'd love to gather historians from around the country and say, let's figure out a narrative, boys. Because we without a national story, it's really hard to rally people across difference together.
100% spot on. I really enjoyed that part of his speech. right? But what kind of concerned me a little bit about his speech was his failure to attribute meaning, or his failure to attribute meaning really cohesively to any system of values that he's willing to defend, right? Because he's saying we lack kind of a national character, we lack a national identity, which is true. We do lack a national identity, but then he doesn't really come up with a national identity that he wants us to put forth, right? He says we should live a life of love, of caring, of character, but that's kind of like just a souped down version of, again, be yourself. Because to say you live a life of love, and then you have to ask, okay, like, what is love? Right? Liberals interpret love, the term love, very differently from conservatives. Religious people interpret love very differently from non-religious people. So even the word love is kind of dividing, and Carol Quillen, the president, mentioned this at the end. She said, yeah, the important thing that we have to do is do everything out of love, and things are so much more effective out of love. What does that mean, Some people might say that what I'm doing here is out of love, and then some people might say that what I'm doing here is out of fun. I don't know what I'm doing out of here. um, he just doesn't give us that grounding basis. He thinks that he does, but he really hasn't. See, a grounding value system has to be more than just pithy terms about love and respect and joy and tolerance and obedience. It has to be an actual system, a framework, okay? A framework. Say, I do this because God told me to, or I do this because there's this amazing person in my life that came to me and told me this is what you should do, and I became a follower and I followed that person. That could be a good thing. That could be something. Pick a person in your life that you really admire. Follow that. If you don't want to talk about the whole religion business, which I do, and I think that that's really the only acceptable way of really viewing his speech as a kind of a religious speech. But he tries not to make it a religious speech, and as a result, it becomes vague and wishy-washy. But what do you think? You should tell me what you think, and I'd love to hear more. But so this is Kenny Shu.